Erased Destiny. Chapter 5. An Eye for an Eye. Merigold took the ingredients to Amanda. She ate fast dinner and excused herself with the need to give back Pilla's horse. She led Gale back to the House of Magic and bid him a relieved farewell. She hoped that she won't need to ride a horse anytime soon. Castile was lying in the hay next to Fable, so she didn't have to look for him. The boy's reddish hair stood out clearly against the pale straw, and there was more gloom lurking in his brown eyes than usual. Nevertheless, Merigold whispered,
"Hey, Castile, will you help me?
I'm in trouble myself. What is it?
Where in Sintra is the watchtower?"
And which one? There's one at every gate. By the market, on the hill, every few streets.
Merigold groaned. She had not expected such difficulty. She squealed as the boy pulled her under the hay. He put his hand over her mouth and listened. Only when the conversation of the teachers passing by the stables quieted did he release the girl.
Forgive me, they can't find me.
"And what did you do?"
Why did you ask about the watchtower?
"The guards attacked, beat up and robbed my family. I need to find the perpetrators."
She tried to get out of her hiding place, but Castile held her arm tightly. The teenagers' faces were barely 2 hands apart, and from this perspective, Merigold seemed to be accompanied by a short-haired, red-haired girl due to Castile's delicate facial features.
Are you going to knock on every watchtower and ask, did you beat up my family?
"Don't be stupid or magic ignorant. I'll go through memories of the guards. Thanks for the information and see you later."
Wait, once you're in those guardhouses, will you retrieve the book for me? The guards took it from me. That it's supposedly forbidden. If the master finds out, he'll throw me out of school. It was his precious book, a gift.
Merigold laughed quietly and placed her hand on the boy's forehead.
"In that case, come with me. You will distract the guards. What does this book look like?" "On the other side of the mirror stands me, but different."
Merigold looked at the memory of the book wrapped in a leather case and rummaged through the hay. It was quite late, so to not catch attention of guards, Merigold hid herself in the shadows. She looked at Castile, still fully visible, and decided that his problems were his own. They waited on the bridge until the lanterns had gone out and people had stopped wandering the streets. They killed time by talking about trivial topics. Nathan, whom Castile didn't know, the use of ivy during hunt, untasty food at school's canteen.
How are you going to touch the heads of the guards?
Mind reading doesn't require body contact, but then it takes more time. I have so little power that I don't know if I can check memories of more than 3 people in a row. Don't look at me like that. How about you? Were you going to sit in the hay for long?
I couldn't think of anything better. I am not brave enough to break into the guardhouse and retrieve the book. If you succeed, I'll give you a power regeneration potion. Can you teleport?
To the other end of the courtyard. I'm really lacking in power.
Merigold didn't mention that she can turn into death and maintain that state long enough to distance herself from danger, or to get rid of inconvenient witnesses.
Master said you wield death magic. None of us can do that. Until now I dream of a graveyard full of ghosts.
That is a splendid idea. If I change into a specter, I can easily penetrate the bodies of the guards and learn their thoughts. After I find culprits, I return to my body and eliminate them. But first, your book. Do you know where they carried it?
To the guardhouse by the market.
That's where we would start. If I get into trouble, I notify you, and then you launch an attack. It must be loud, eye-catching attack. I count on you.
Etienne climbed onto the roof of the watchtower with the help of her favorite ivy, and Castile was preparing snow missiles. He waited for the signal to launch the assault. Meanwhile, the girl slipped inside through the attic window. In the cluttered room, she found only dusty and long unused objects. She quietly descended to the floor and looked into an open room. 2 guards were writing their daily watch reports. Jubilant shouts and curses came from the adjoining room, so Etienne didn't need to use sound illusion to mask her steps. Sphere of silence would cost her too much. She was not used to such limitations. Her endless energy river dried out, and that was even worse than lack of any spells except of death and elementless domains. Etienne hid under the vacant desk. Someone entered the room.
Who's on guard at the shacks today? You, then get going.
Merigold had never heard so many vulgar expressions in her life as when she sat under the desk and watched a guard getting ready for duty. Negative opinions about those who cannot sleep or languish on other people's property were a small part of the complaints. More was hurled at the city's rulers, who were economizing on salaries and street lighting. When the disgruntled guard left, Etienne was left in a room accompanied by only one man. She casted a sleep charm on him so that she could look around for a book without disturbance. She was in luck. She found the package in a trunk full of confiscated items. The sight of slingshots, children's bows, or rusty horseshoes severely disappointed her. She had expected magical paraphernalia, dangerous weapons, poisons, or love potions, not toys. After the action, Etienne slipped out the attic window and joined Castile, who was waiting outside.
Is this the package?
It looks the same, thanks. You didn't give a signal.
There was no need. Take my clothes and wait here for me to finish the job.
Maybe in our stable? How long can it take?
Castile jumped away from the greenish, transparent figure. Hair down to the ground, bulging eyes, feet hovering above the ground. Merigold fitted the textbook description perfectly. Without saying goodbye, she flew off towards the watchtower. She was in a hurry to complete her mission and return home to comfort her mother. Castile looked at his green-eyed acquaintance for a moment and returned to the school with all speed. He carried the book to Pilasarum and went to the stables. There, he awaited Merigold's return. The spectre penetrated the bodies of the guards, one in each guardhouse she found, but came across no memory of a visit to her home. Each such seizure weakened her will and subtracted power. Despite her growing frustration and sense of powerlessness, Etienne continued her search until morning. Exhausted, she barely made it to the stables and fell asleep there. She was found naked by school children, which triggered a wave of screaming that woke up Castile, but not Merigold.
Instead of howling, you would do your homework. I have yet to see one of you fall unconscious due to the number of casted spells. Where are her clothes?
Here they are. I am sorry. I was going to give them to her, but I fell asleep in the hay.
One's character you cannot change.
Merigold woke up on the hay-strewn ground, covered with her dress and horse blanket, sometime after lunch. She sprang to her feet, put on her dress, and ran outside. Castile had been waiting for her near the stables.
Did you find the wicked guards?
No, I think I checked all the watchtowers. Maybe they went out on patrol?
I thought about what you said. The guards rarely leave the city. They are not allowed to confiscate animals either. Even more so to assault people in their homes. As long as you haven't murdered anyone, they shouldn't raid you.
Get to the point, please.
Castile gave Merigold a poster ripped from town's notice board.
Scammers, impersonating guards, ordinary robbers. For a few coins they'll beat the shit out of anyone who comes along.
How can I find them? There is nothing written here regarding their location.
You want to throw yourself into a camp full of hoodlums. They'll kill you. Besides, the poster turned yellow from the humidity. Since the guards failed to find the camp, you won't succeed either.
The guards don't leave Sintra. You said so yourself. I don't have enough power to knock down all the enemies with one spell, so I will recruit helpers. But first, I need to locate the camp. Are there any seekers in the town?
Castile opened his mouth several times, only to close it immediately afterwards. Nothing sensible came to his mind. He was sure Merigold was barking mad.
Unfortunately, there are not. Neither vampires nor pathfinders.
Bad luck. Well, that makes mind magic the only solution. It would be easier with the map. To the library, then.
It's unreasonable to.
All my life, I've been doing everything on my own, and no one seemed to mind. If you wanted to show your commitment to work, you had a golden opportunity during the invasion of the Dragon Army. Out of my way.
The argument between the mages was interrupted by Torden taking Merigold in his arms.
There you are, girl. I was at Jargon's place today when your mother called me. She is going out of her mind because you have disappeared and the guards have thrown you in the dungeon.
I'll go home when I am done here. I hope to finish everything by tomorrow's morning. If you see Abella, please assure her that I am fine.
Who wounded you like that? Jargon again?
Do not joke. If Jargon is not a werewolf, he doesn't have claws sharp enough to leave such marks.
Merigold got annoyed by actions of the adults claiming ownership of other people's time. She teleported a few steps away to get out of Torden's hands.
Not so fast. Abella told me what happened. She obliged me to stop you from doing something irresponsible.
A scythe appeared in Girl's hands. The sight of the silvery blade caused Pillas to go into a premonitory state, but Torden knew how to deal with such opponents. He grabbed Merigold in half and threw her over his shoulder. She squealed in surprise, upset at the onslaught and the further restriction of her freedom.
Trouble with those teenagers.
Indeed.
Pillas barely caught his breath. His shaking hands were looking for calming herbs, as he had heart trouble and always carried some medicines on him. A black, spectral figure hovered over Torden. She fiddled with her scythe for a moment, as if considering getting rid of those disturbing her.
The fact that I have no memory of my previous life does not entitle you to drag me around like a sack of grain. Did I make myself clear?
The wheezing voice of death frightened the adepts listening to the conversation. They ran for their lives, and after a while, only the perpetrators of the commotion were left in front of the stables, Pillas, and Torden. Castile hid behind a tree and listened to the conversation from this place. He hoped that death had not come for him or to him, and that he could enjoy his life a little longer.
We beg for your forgiveness, Lady of the Crystal Palace.
Listen carefully. I'm looking for Nathan, although I don't know if he's managed to reincarnate. As Merigold, I have flashes of my former life. I've lost my powers, my spells, my skills, my experience, my memories. Everything but my domain. I am too weak to return to the palace. I don't want anyone to know about me. Do you understand?
Yes, lady, of course. We won't tell anyone that you live in Sintra.
I could say I'm glad I remember nothing. I have started all over again. I can do what I couldn't then. My magic is failing, as it did when I clashed with the Triheads. I am aware of my current limitations. Nevertheless, I am confident that I will not be threatened by a few hoodlums. May we not see each other too often.
The hairs on Pillas' arms prickled when he heard the last sentence. A threat that sounded extremely convincing in Death's mouth. The shadow wavered and a 12-year-old Merigold appeared in its place, once again fighting to keep fleeing memories in her head.
No, not again. Nathan, don't leave me. Don't you remember? We are like two halves of one apple. We shouldn't be separated for so long.
Merigold sobbed, adding to Pillas' and Torden's dismay. They took a few steps away to confer about what to do next, how to deal with Merigold, so that she survive till her 16th birthday, and they see her ghostly alter ego as little as possible.
I'll go with her to look for bandits.
Great. I'll keep an eye on her whenever I see her. I offered her a place in my school, but she didn't look interested. To tell the truth, she casts spells better than me, and there is nothing I could teach her.
Is this really Ishin? The mistress of the Crystal Palace?
Yes, her spirit, trapped in a girl's body. Surprised, upset, or terrified, Merigold summons Etienne for a moment and Etienne won't let anything bad happen. But still, those scars on her face didn't come out of nowhere.
When Merigold calmed down a bit and remembered what she had just planned to do, she moved towards the gate. This time, Torden didn't stop her. He ran home to fetch a steel, two-handed sword and provisions. Merigold walked ahead. She was still somewhat distracted and unable to focus her eyes on anything. She felt like she was floating above the ground, as if her body weighed no more than a bird's feather.